Welcome to this week's edition of The Accomplished Woman with Cathy Mendell. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and I'm joined in the studio by Cathy Mendell herself. She is the founder and president of Theia Financial. Cathy, my friend, it's great to be back with you.
Yes, absolutely. You know, helping women retire well and figure out this whole idea of being able to live without stress. It's just amazing.
It's so rewarding, isn't it?
It's very rewarding, and it's meaningful. I'm really excited to be able to talk today about a little bit more specifics about how you go about doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you know, I know that you are passionate specifically about helping women retire well and developing an income plan for retirement, because it comes down to not just how much you've saved, but how do you generate income for yourself in your retirement years. And Cathy, I know in my job as a financial educator, I've had the privilege of traveling all throughout the United States. And one of the common questions I think that women want to know is, how do I know when I have saved enough? How do I know when I'm there?
Right.
Because we've talked before, some women, they love their job, they want to continue working. Some women can't wait to be done, and they just want to know, okay, how do I know when I've reached that magic number, if you will, and I've saved enough so that I can confidently and comfortably retire?
Exactly. And you know, the interesting thing about that is the opinions and the rules of thumb that are out there are wild. If you were to ask that question on Google right now, if you just typed on your phone, you know, how do I know if I've saved enough money? You're going to get 18 million answers in about 3 seconds.
Right.
Okay. So there's a lot of them. And the rules of thumb are just that. A lot of times they're just opinions. They might be guesses. They could be based on old information, or they could just be plain wrong, honestly. Some of the rules of thumb that people have said to me is, oh, you have to have 10 times your annual income.
Wow.
And then you can retire.
Right.
Like, okay, so that could be a big number or not. Depends on what my annual income is right now.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Another one that I hear a lot is you're only going to need 80% of your pre-retirement income.
I don't know that that sits well with me at all, for a variety of reasons, including inflation, healthcare costs, all of it, right?
Right, and the fact is that 80% of your pre-retirement income is that pre-tax or post-tax.
That's a good point as well.
Right. You know, one of the questions I like to ask my clients is, if you ask them, how much do you need to retire? And before they do this exercise we're going to talk about today, a lot of times they don't really know how to answer that. And so I'll say, well, what is your paychecks that you're getting now after everything's deducted?
Right.
What's your net?
The net.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Not
Are
the
you
gross,
living
but
on
the
that?
net.
Can you live on that? You know, and then we get a better feel. Another one has to do with Social Security. Oh, you shouldn't draw Social Security until you're 70, or everyone should take it at 62. I mean, it's all over the board, and everybody seems to have an opinion about that. You know that Social Security decisions are really based on you. It has nothing to do with the rule of thumb
There's
at
so
all.
many personal factors that far outweigh the mathematical calculation.
Totally. And here's something that a lot of people may not know, is that with Social Security, whether you are 62 and you start pulling your Social Security, you wait till full retirement age, or somewhere in between, or you wait till 70, if you live until full life expectancy, you get the same amount of money. It's just that if you wait till later, the checks are bigger. But it's not more money. And Social Security is kind of like a insurance policy. It's not an asset like a 401k.
Right.
It's not something that you want to, it doesn't grow, okay?
Yeah.
So anyway, enough about Social Security. Another one is I'm going to withdraw 4% a year.
Oh, I hear that one all the time, the 4% rule, right?
You know, that was based on data in 1997. At the time, bonds were paying over 7.5%. Without doing junk bonds, just regular corporate bonds, 7.5%. So if you had 60% in bonds and 40% in stocks, you could withdraw 4%. That is not the case anymore.
No, not at all.
That rule is dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Historically, maybe that worked, but it certainly doesn't work in today's
A lot of times when we look at a portfolio, we'll see, you know, we'll look at the yield, and the yield will be 1.5%. So if you're going to draw 4%, that means you have to pull 3% out of the assets. You have to sell them, which means the yield will be lower next year.
Right.
So, that's an old one. I heard this one the other day. Oh, the rule of thumb is 100 minus your age. So, okay.
Interesting.
So, what does that mean?
Right.
Okay. So, rule of thumbs are really common in financial literature. And some of it is passed down from your family.
Absolutely. There's beliefs that come surrounding money and retirement and
totally.
All those.
But they're just opinions. And what you have to remember is when you are, it's like, okay, let's just say that I'm going to take a vacation. Okay. And I live in New York and I'm going to drive to San Diego. Okay. So I can get in the car.
Right.
And I can head west. That's all.
That's all you know.
I don't need to do anything else. I can just head. I might even make a few mistakes. I might detour and meander around. But as long as I'm heading west, I'm on tack of getting to my destination, right? But the closer I get to San Diego, the more important it is that I have a map.
Yes.
Or a GPS.
For sure.
Or something that's going to give me specific directions. Yeah. When you are saving money for retirement, the only thing that's important is that you're heading west, that you're putting money in the account. You're putting it in there when the markets are high. You're putting it in there when the markets are low. Right. You shouldn't panic when the markets collapse because everything just went on sale. So when you put money in, you know how women like a good sale.
Oh, for sure.
You put money in, you're just buying more, right?
Yep.
But as you get closer to retirement, let's say you're within 5 years, you better get a map.
For sure.
Because now things get serious.
Yep.
Decisions that are made in that space, or even in the first 10 years of retirement, can have catastrophic effects on how long your money lasts.
Well, and to that point, what you're describing is there's this pivotal shift that needs to happen. So many people are familiar with the accumulation years, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're hardworking, you're putting money away, you're saving. But to your point, there comes this time where now it's time to start the distribution phase and be pulling that money out. And that just requires a different investment strategy altogether.
It does. Are you familiar with the term ROI?
Yes.
Right? Return on investment, right?
Right.
That's all you should care about when you're putting money away. Just make the most you can. As you get closer, the ROI changes. It's a retirement ROI, and that's reliable, ongoing income.
I love that acronym, Kathy.
Yeah.
That is so helpful. Yes, reliable, ongoing income.
That's what you have to think about when as you're getting closer, because that's what's going to matter down the road.
Absolutely.
The other thing is you don't have a time horizon. When you're working, you know you're going to be working for X amount of years. So you can save, save, save. But as you get closer to retirement, that time horizon begins to shrink. So anything that any big shakes in the market really do affect you. And the other thing that happens is you don't know how long you're going to live.
Right.
So you don't know how long it's going to last. So it's a whole different way of thinking about money.
It really is. Well, if these rule of thumbs aren't working, and clearly there's so many individualized, personalized factors that come into play. I know we have a lot of accomplished women who are watching the show right now and they're going, gosh, I want to know. I want to know what this plan needs to be for me. What do you want to offer them today?
Okay, so it'll be a simple answer, but sometimes simple is better.
Absolutely.
Okay? So when someone asks me that question, the first thing I have to know is, what does this money need to do for you? What is the purpose of this money?
Right.
So what we have to discover is if they have an income gap. Okay. So how we do that is we use a worksheet that you sit down and have a soul-searching conversation with yourself about, well, what is it going to cost me when I retire? Where am I going to live? Is my house paid off by that time? What's the cost of things? What's it going to cost me? So I'll tell you a story about myself. So I did this for myself. And I obviously, well, not obviously, but I do run the finances for our family.
Yes.
And as I'm working with my clients, helping them understand how to figure out what that need is, I did it for myself. So I took the worksheet and I thought, okay, I know what Medicare costs, and I'm not there yet, but it's $300 a month per person. Okay, so at least $300 a month. Could be more than that based on your earnings, or your income, I mean. But anyway, I figured out everything, and for where I was off was on food. So what I did is, and this is how I encourage my clients, is to go to your bank statements, log on, and download your bank statements for a solid year. And go 15 months if you want to, it doesn't matter. You just need enough data so that you can get a real look at how your money is going out. And then what I encourage people to do, now if you're not comfortable with the Excel spreadsheet, you can do this by hand. It's just a lot more work. But anyway, what we did is I have you sort it by description. So all the house payments are logged together month by month, all of your power bills, all of your things that you do. Where I was off is I had written on my worksheet, oh, we spend $500 a month in groceries, and we go out to eat, X amount of times, and I had that number down. And so when I did the sort, I was like, wow.
Whoa.
That number was way off. Okay. So
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, so I had, the grocery store I shop at all the time, so every other week, $250 or so, but I didn't account for Trader Joe's.
That'll get you every time, right?
And I'm a coffee snob, I admit it, straight up. I order my coffee from Oakland, California. It's an amazing roaster, and I get it every 2 weeks. It's not cheap. That's part of what I would consider groceries, okay?
Yes. Yeah.
So I had to really rethink that. Now, what would happen is if you hadn't had that conversation with yourself, you might have false expectations about what you're going to need to retire.
Right.
Once we know what that number is, and this is an after-tax number, now our team goes to work. And what we do is we craft out, here's what you have, here's the tax status of what you have, here's the sources of income that you already have, maybe Social Security, you might have a couple rentals, you could have a pension. We put all the sources together, we figure out what the gap is. It's called an income gap. This is your responsibility to solve with your assets.
Absolutely.
So,
well, go ahead.
You have to know. You have to know, what is my responsibility? What is not going to be something that's going to be coming from other sources that I have to generate from my portfolio? Right.
Well, if someone's watching and they need help figuring out this income gap, and I know you have this worksheet, what would you like to share with them?
I would love to give it away absolutely free. What I want you to do is just call 866-724-4927. And tell one of our team, hey, I want that worksheet she was talking about. We will email it to you, and you'll get it in Excel and PDF. And the Excel has all the formulas built in. But it's going to help you identify your expenses, and then it's going to help you identify what you can count on and what is not guaranteed, what you can't count on, what you have to generate. That will answer a lot of questions. And then we can figure out if you've saved enough money.
Absolutely. Cathy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but we encourage you, as Cathy said, pick up the phone, make this important phone call, 866-724-4927. Two things you're going to get when you call that number. One is you'll be able to set up a complimentary 15-minute Zoom call with Cathy where you can discuss your own personal financial situation. And as she mentioned, you'll also receive this worksheet to help you discover what your potential income gap is so you can then work on beginning to solve it. And Cathy would love to help walk you through that and help you do that. You're also able to scan that QR code. Simply take out your smartphone, scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few simple questions. You can fill it out, and then a member of the Theia Financial team will reach out to you so that you can set up your complimentary call with Cathy that way as well. We have so much more to talk about for retirement for the accomplished woman. Stay with us.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter, the one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to The Accomplished Woman with Cathy Mendell. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and I'm here with Cathy herself. She is the president and founder of Theia Financial. We were talking before the break, Cathy, about the importance of knowing how much we are currently spending to be able to project if we're going to have an income gap in retirement. And I just want to represent how important it is for folks to know what their individual income gap is, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I'll just tell you a story about Grace. Grace lives in Texas, and she retired last year. Now, the interesting thing with Grace is that her husband actually passed away, very surprising cancer situation, and passed away a couple years before she retired. She was a senior executive in an HR firm, and very accomplished, very capable. When I met her, she was a referral, so somebody, said you need to talk to Cathy.
Right. Yep.
So what I love about Grace is that she's so fun. She's just fun. She's really active and fun, and she's a voracious reader. She actually sent me a book in the mail. But anyway, what happened was that Grace has a pretty good feel for her money. So, after she retired and she wasn't getting the paychecks anymore, she had a pool of assets, and her only guaranteed income was her Social Security. So it was like $2,800 a month. She was having to take out $3,700 to $4,000 a month from her pool of assets.
Wow.
That started to scare her, you know, because all she could see was the money that she put in was starting to dwindle.
Absolutely.
And looking at that was like, holy cow, you know, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
And it was frightening.
Yes.
Now, I've actually ran into that a few times, especially with people that had 2 incomes and kind of were counting on that, and then they are widowed.
Right.
And Sue was another one, exactly the same situation. When her husband passed away, her advisor that her husband had used was still kind of keeping him invested the same way, which was pretty aggressive. And she was just going through their money.
Wow.
And it was terrifying. So when Grace and I met, the first thing I did was she had to do the spending analysis.
Right,
okay?
yes.
And what we discovered is that she needed $6,000 a month net. Okay. And that gave her lifestyle that she wanted. And Grace was really involved in she liked to go to the theater, and she lived in Houston. So she was doing that, and she liked to eat out with her friends. I mean, she had a lot of fun things that she did, and she didn't want to give that up.
Of course not, right?
What is retirement if you have to give that stuff up, right?
Yes, you've worked hard your whole life. You want to actually be able to enjoy it, right?
So what we had to do was we had to help her identify a plan that could divide her assets into income producing that would satisfy what she needed, and also have money that would be extra for enjoyment, for things she hadn't thought about. And she really wanted to pass money to her kids. So the thing about the extra pool of money was that it was going to be able to grow long term. The risk, the time element was a long-term growth. Whereas if you're drawing money out all the time of your pool, it's short-term.
Yes.
Right? Everything matters what happens right now. Everything didn't matter anymore what happened to that money. It could sit and grow. And the money that she needed for income would be provided for. That's the same thing we did with Sue. And what I love about this approach is that it takes the weight off your shoulders of this fear. I mean, waking up at night when you know how the news media is. They want to scare you about everything.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And things are happening in the news media, and you're listening to that, and then you're paying your bills, and you're looking at your account statements, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm in trouble.
Right.
That's no way to live.
Right. You don't want to be worried late at night, as so many folks are, about retirement. And I know that's a huge source of stress for women. It's kind of like we've lived these full days, right? And then we go home and we put our head down on the pillow, and it's time to go to sleep, and all of a sudden the mind starts racing, right?
You know, another person, Linda, I hope you don't mind if I tell a bunch of stories.
No, this is great. Please, this is story time.
So this was, story time with Cathy. Okay.
Yes.
But Linda and I were talking about this, and she said she had gone to her advisor. She was so excited that she was getting ready to retire. And she went to him, and she's telling him, okay, I'm going to retire in September. And he said, oh, well, we need to switch your allocation to 60-40.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
That's so common, right?
Right. And she just sat there for a minute. She goes, is that it? He goes, yeah, you should be good for life.
What?
And he didn't know how much income she needed. He didn't have anything to say about he told her to go to the Social Security office.
Oh, no.
And then with taxes, he encouraged her to go see the CPA. Well, that's not a plan.
Let's unpack why that is so problematic. I heard 3 huge problems come out of that story, so go for it.
Well, the thing is that a plan includes all elements.
Yes.
It includes income planning. Your investments need to support the income plan. Your taxes, you have to take that into account because you've got to know how much you actually have left over.
And it's
that's
not about
net.
tax preparation, it's about strategic tax planning, and there's a huge difference.
Right,
with
there's
that.
a big difference. And if you have other sources, if you have different pools of money where you can withdraw strategically, you can reduce your tax exposure. The less you pay in taxes, the longer your money lasts. That's just the facts of it.
For sure.
Okay. The healthcare piece, she kind of got that. She was already on Medicare.
Right.
She had a life insurance policy. I said, well, do you really need that? You know, because it's just for her kids. That's fine. But she didn't have anything for long-term care. So that was a question mark.
Right.
And then the estate planning, you know, so we went through all of that together. We're not attorneys. We do have relationships with attorneys that do estate planning through our firm. We are not Medicare specialists, but we have Medicare specialists that are affiliated with our company that help with our clients. But we know how it works.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yep.
So when she left, when we ended up working together, and what Linda said to me was that I didn't want to have to find all these professionals who don't know each other and try to talk to everybody and get them all on the same page when I don't even know what the page is.
Right.
You know, you're asking somebody that doesn't know what they don't know to put together something that they don't have. A
team of people that they don't know if they can trust them, and they're going to get conflicting information, right?
Yeah. So I think it all goes back to having, with Grace's situation, we needed to get the pressure off of her. She'd already gone through enough.
Yes.
And having that feeling that, oh my gosh, I need to stop going to the theater, or I can't do this or that. Or sometimes when people don't have a plan, they just throw caution to the wind, and they do overspend.
Yes.
Because they don't. They're thinking, well, I don't know,
right.
So I'll just
keep
enjoy
going.
myself. Whatever happens, happens.
Right.
That's not good either.
No, for sure not.
So you just need to know more clearly what needs to happen, how to put it together, and how you can forecast the future.
And one other thing I just want to pull out from what you said, you talked about how the advisor said, oh, she should just call the Social Security office, right?
Yeah.
The issue is that the Social Security Administration is only allowed to give you information. They are not allowed to give you individualized, personalized advice based on your situation, but yet that's something that you can do at Theia Financial, is sit down with someone, look at all these different parts, engage in that comprehensive, holistic financial planning process to see how all these pieces fit together. And so for everyone who's watching today, how can they get on your calendar to have this important appointment?
Okay. Yeah, so what I encourage you to do is, let's just talk on the phone, okay? A 15-minute Zoom call is the way for us to get introduced to each other. To do that, you would dial 866-724-4927. 866-724-4927. That will give you an opportunity to get right into the calendar and have a conversation about where you are with your retirement, kind of hear your financial story, learn about your goals and what you want to have happen, and maybe even answer the question, have I saved enough? I'd love to do that with you. 866-724-4927.
Cathy, thank you so much. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but this is a great opportunity for you to pick up the phone, make that important phone call, or you can scan the QR code, and that will also take you over to a landing page and allow you to set up your appointment with Cathy that way as well. We have a lot more to cover. We'll be back right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life, and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to The Accomplished Woman with Cathy Mendell. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. And Cathy, I have just loved this time with you. Once again, it's going by way too quickly.
Yes.
We've been talking today a lot about the importance of how do you know if you have enough income saved up for your retirement. I know you've shared some incredible stories of the women that you have been able to help and serve. But I would love for our viewers at home, I know a lot of folks might be newer to the show and newer to you, newer to Theia Financial. I would love for you to share the story about how Theia Financial came to be.
Okay, I'd love to do that.
Yes.
So Theia Financial was kind of a passion project for me. I entered the financial, world of financial advising back in 2010.
Wow,
Okay.
what a time to start, right?
I know, right? Right after everything had crashed.
Yes.
But I left a corporate position that had been focused on business planning, and what I wanted to do was to really focus on planning for families, because in my own experience of investing, what I had learned is that a lot of families, they had what we've been talking about. They had a stack of investment statements, but they didn't really understand or know how they were going to get from here to there.
Right, they didn't have that plan that we've been talking about.
In business, you just don't do it that way, right? You don't wing it. Okay, it's done very purposefully.
Yes.
So when I started our firm, we just it was just a wonderful time. We grew very fast, and believe it or not, a year ago I sold my firm.
Wow.
I did. I wasn't ready to stop, but I wanted to refocus on this particular area that I feel so passionate about. I named my firm Theia, who is the goddess, or the Greek goddess of vision, because when I think about vision and how it relates to how it makes you feel. So let me give you an example. So my firm that I had 2 offices, and they were 3.5 hours apart.
Okay.
And in order to get from one to the other, you had to go over a mountain pass. Okay, so it was an incredible drive. I always enjoyed it, even when there was a lot of snow. But one day I was coming back, and like I had been doing this for 12 years. I knew exactly.
You knew this commute.
I knew this
right.
really well.
Yeah.
I knew every curve. There was I could almost drive it with my eyes shut. Of course, I never did, but that's I could.
How it felt. Yeah.
Yeah. So one time I came up over the hill, and I got into a low cloud bank. The clouds had lowered down to the road, and all of a sudden I could see nothing.
Oh, how scary.
And it was shocking, because you're driving along and all of a sudden you can't see anything. So you turn off the radio. That's the first thing you do, right?
Right. Yeah, you want your full attention focused on the road,
You grip the steering wheel, and you're looking around trying to figure out where you are. And I literally was looking at the road to see if I was still on the road.
Gosh, yeah.
So I'm driving along, and I realized I am totally disoriented. I don't know where I am. I know this road. And I know, and then eventually I ended up driving out. But the feeling of being disoriented, it just hit me that many people, as they go through their life, they're working, they're in charge of their careers, they're on it with their family, they take care of their money, they're doing all the things right, they know that they know what they're doing. And then they come up to this place in life that they've been planning for years, and all of a sudden, they don't know what they're doing.
And they're disoriented.
They're disoriented.
Yep.
It's a very bizarre moment. And you go and visit with someone, and you hope that they can give you all the directions, that they can cover all the things we've been talking about. And many times people are left,
without that roadmap, right?
They don't have a map. They don't have a plan. They're taking their trip from New York to California, and they don't have a map. Yes. The other piece to that is that sometimes they never had an advisor. Sometimes all of their money was in their 401k.
Right.
And they never really sat down and talked to someone. So there's like a lot of different scenarios to that. Sometimes I have gals that have inherited money, and they've got a chunk of money, and now what do I do?
What do I do with it? Right.
So there's a lot of pieces to this, but what I'm saying is that the goddess of vision, the idea is that you can see through that, and that you can. It's like if you're skiing and you take the lift up and you get on top of the mountain and you can see forever. It's wonderful to be able to have that kind of perspective.
Yes.
And that's what we're looking for at Theia Financial. Our whole team is engaged in this mission, and we want to help people retire well.
Well, and I love that it's specifically for women. As you and I both know, financial services as a whole is a very male-dominated industry, and there's just a lot of things that are unique to women. And so for anyone who's watching today who's going, yes, I believe in this vision, I want to meet with Cathy, I want to get associated with Theia Financial, what would you want to say to them?
I would say, don't wait. Just give us a call. Call one of our office team. Will answer the call. They'll help you find a time on the calendar that will work for you. Now we'll do this over Zoom. Okay, you don't have to drive through the freeway or take off work early. The number to dial is 866-724-4927. That's 866-724-4927.
Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.